then I'll kick on the thing whenever we're
Yep.
wrapping up.
It's weird. I can hear the bad like dips every time I talk. It's kind of throwing
really?
me off. Yeah.
Luckily, we won't have many.
Right. Just kind of in my head right now.
I think it's going. Just getting ready here. Make sure it's. Alrighty.
Let's do it.
Little Kawhi in there. All right, here we go for real this time. Right on the beer drink.
Oh yeah, no, well, okay, so I didn't get to do it our pod the other day, so I have to open up the thing with a good drink of the beer there. What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. It's another Aftershock after a awesome win against the best team by record in the NBA, at least before tonight. The Milwaukee
That's
Bucks.
good.
Thunder win it 118-112. What a fantastic game to watch. If you're a Thunder fan, this was one of the greatest ones you've seen in quite a while. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. YouTube crowd, if you're listening afterwards. All the other media that we broadcast to. Thanks for joining in with us on this post-game Aftershock. Jason, man, dude, it seems like every few weeks we're getting one of these. This is the greatest win of the season. And tonight, I think definitely it's up there as far as the greatest win of the season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a one to mark on the season. Like, and it feels really good on this 5-game win streak that they're on right now. Because this was one that I was kind of worried about coming into. The Bucks, like you said, are right now the best team in the NBA, and it's just nice to see them come out and perform this way against a solid team and one with probably second in the race for MVP right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, it's just nice to see them kind of take care of that and really look incredible doing it.
By the way, really proud of you. Your Antetokounmpo pronunciation there just rolled off the tongue. It was beautiful. Real quick, just to jump right into it, because we're talking about this is the Bucks. This is a great team. This is a great win. So one of our guys, one of our awesome followers that we absolutely love interacting with on a regular basis, Aaron Ayunt _15. Better win, this one or the one in Philly? Jason, what you got?
I'm going to go with this one for sure. I mean, the Philly, it was an emotional win. I think like there's kind of some bad blood there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's the rivalry with Russ and Embiid that made it wonderful. But I think this was just having such a hot team come in. Like the Sixers are good and all, but the Bucks are like one of these top tier teams in the league. And at least this year they have been. And it's just nice to see, them just take care of business and do it in such a fashion, like where they kind of went back to leaning on their defense pretty heavily. And it's like just the way they won tonight just felt really good to me.
Oh yeah, that Philly one was great. Don't get us wrong here. Like, we really valued that win, and especially I'm not a big fan of Joel Embiid. I don't think I've ever been. I've never minced words about that one. I don't like Joel Embiid. And that was a great win, but at the same time, like, that Sixers team is not as good as this Milwaukee Bucks team. This Milwaukee Bucks team is great from just top to bottom. And look, they've got a great coach in Budenholzer. Like, the dude runs a great offensive system. He gets a lot out of his players. So for them to come out and just play the way they did, get this win was huge, and I think it does have to go down as the best win so far this season. And it definitely helps that this is number 5 in a 5-game win streak so far. They're tearing off a bunch of great games in a row, playing really great basketball, getting back to kind of what they are as a team, what we all thought they would be as a team. This looks like a team that can compete, at least to get to the Western Conference Finals again. So you have to win those 5 games in a row to really reassert yourself after going 1-5 over your last 6 before this stretch. So a huge win. There were 6 players in double figures tonight. They're getting contributions from everyone, and it's been so much fun to watch. First half, 16 assists on 23 makes from the Thunder. They're moving the ball. They're doing all these great basketball things offensively and defensively. They didn't take a whole lot of trips to the free throw line, but look, they really dominated that first half. Bucks started on an 8-0 run, and Thunder responded by scoring 56 and holding the Bucks to 34.
That's cool. Hold my beer, bro.
Yeah, let's 8-0 run? Yeah, that's cute. Let's go 56-34 over the next 23 minutes or so, or whatever it was. It was a complete clinic. That was Thunder basketball to a T in that first half. That was defense was absolutely suffocating. The offense is finding its own rhythm. They're finding great shots. They're driving to the paint. They're doing exactly what they want to, dominating the glass, owning the paint. That's Thunder basketball to a T in that first half. But then you get to the second half. And the Bucks they outscored Oklahoma City by 8. Granted, it doesn't matter because you still win by 6. But it was one of those feelings of, oh guys, please don't blow this. You guys are about to blow this. Like you just kind of started to get that feeling. And Jason, like, what did you see in that second half? Like, kind of down the stretch there.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be something that we have to continue to worry about with this team, and to me is the largest worry is that just once they get up on a team and like their ability to hold that throughout the rest of the game, and it just seems like their defense kind of lets up a little and they stop kind of stepping on the throttle like they were in the first half, and you saw it against the Pelicans too, like, which was a kind of decimated team as far as injuries go, and then no matter who it is, it seems like they just somehow let them back in the game, and I don't know exactly what to attribute that to. I mean, have you noticed anything that like just sticks out? I noticed, like, I think in the Pelicans game, Billy kind of went all bench, and that seems to always be a dagger in our side at the moment, especially when we have to, we don't have much there.
There's just a lot of inconsistencies, I think. Like, effort is the one really, and it's such an intangible thing. It's just something you can't point to a box score and be like, oh, well, they weren't efforting hard enough there because, right. Well, they only had 5 rebounds. Like, you're not efforting enough. It's such an intangible thing to talk about, but yeah, it's something that passes the eye test. And I think the effort is the most important thing to this team, especially when you talk about defense. This is a defensively minded team. You have to have that effort night in and night out. And I think just over the body of work that we've seen through, 49 games or 47, 48, somewhere in that range. I think it's 49. I don't have the math in front of me.
As we know. So.
But that's what differentiates this team between winning and losing. That's the difference between this 5-game win streak and the 1-5 right before that. It's the difference of so many of these stretches throughout the season, and it's kind of one of those things that, exactly what you're talking about with the Pelicans. The Pelicans didn't have Anthony Davis. They didn't have Julius Randle. Etuan Moore was out, I think, as well. Excuse me. They play down to the level of their opponent so many times. And I think a lot of it is they get caught up looking at the next opponent. You get caught up in looking at, we've got the Bucks coming into town on Sunday. Well, we don't have to play as hard, and they kind of get trapped in these bad games because they don't give the level of effort that they need to. But then you've got the Bucks coming into town, great team. You absolutely have to be hitting on all cylinders to beat a team that's that good. And they do it. When they give the effort, they can beat pretty much anyone in the NBA. Now, whether that will translate to a 7-game series, we don't really know. And we're not going to know for a while. But just what I've seen so far from just the effort when they play these great teams, they give that effort. They both offensively and both defensively, excuse me, and the way their offense is starting to hit its strides. That gives me a lot of hope when we get to 8 games in April, games in May, games in June, maybe even
Yeah.
late June, if you will. So there's a lot of good things to come out of that, and you're right. Like that second half, it was clunky. It just they kind of let the thing slip away because they really coasted to a big lead. The Bucks cut it to 3 with a minute 9 left, and you're thinking like, oh well, okay, here we go again. It's going to be one of those nail biters. The Thunder jump out to this huge lead. They look like they're going to coast. They look like they might win by 25. And then it's a 3-point game with a minute left, and yeah, the Bucks are hitting a ton of shots, and the Thunder aren't. So what's going to happen? The good thing is, clutch Paul George
Oh my God.
comes out of the woodworks and says, "Hey,
Saves
by
the
the
day.
way, hey, speaking of hold my beer, yeah, hold my beer. Let me show you how it's done." He went full scorched earth tonight. Man, it was fun.
God, it's so beautiful to watch him play. Like he's just I've said this every time I've ever talked about him, but he's just so smooth. And it's
You
like
mean smooth as eggs?
smooth as eggs, man. He is. He just looks like he's gliding all the time and like he's not even really putting forth effort. And like guys are just struggling to keep up with him defensively and it's just so weird. He looks like he's in slow motion almost, but and then he comes through with that huge three. Wasn't that over Giannis too?
Oh yeah.
Which I don't even know how you possibly can shoot over that guy. He's gigantic.
Well,
Like,
he's got like what 14-foot arms.
yeah,
Well, and look, the three was great, and he puts up 36, 13, and 3. He's going to be an all-star starter, and if you watch this game, which a lot of people did, national broadcast,
mm-hmm.
you get to see a lot of Paul George. And if you were on the fence watching this game as someone that's not a Thunder fan, and you're looking at Paul George, you're like, okay, yeah, that's
I get it.
why. That's why this guy was an all-star starter because he's that good. When he wants to, when he wants to push it, when he wants to be the guy, he absolutely can't be stopped.
Yeah,
And he absolutely showed it. Did have a quiet third quarter, 3 points on only 2 shots, but comes back in the fourth quarter. But so you talked about that 3. I think the biggest thing was he absolutely put Giannis Antetokounmpo on a poster.
yeah. Oh God, that dunk.
And by the way, gotta give my boy, my best friend Trey, a little shout out here for this one. But he was texting me, all of Greece, including Socrates and Plato, now belong to PG, and that's just all the antiquity, every Greek god you can think of, like all the mythology, Zeus, like just the entirety of Greek mythology, all the great philosophers, everything now belongs to Paul George because of that slam. And that was, oh man, that was, you got to the point where like you saw him throw that down and it almost made you feel good about how close that game got because it allowed Paul George to elevate his game. But coming into this season, we talked about this quite a bit. He had 0 game winners
Right.
in his career coming into Oklahoma City. He's hit 2 this year so far. Granted, tonight wasn't one of them.
Count
But
it
he's
in
just
my
been.
heart.
Yeah, it should
Not
because
the,
he
not
was
the record books, but
he was so clutch. He was absolutely so clutch. If it's not for Paul George, Oklahoma City loses that game. He finds a way to just assert himself and go win that ball game. Make sure that it doesn't slip any further than a 3-point game. Man,
but yeah,
that was incredible.
kind of like you're saying on that dunk, and I mean we were kind of talking about this the other day about like MVP moments for PG. Like this game getting close again, kind of let him have another one of those like kind of shining moments like that. Because the 3 is one thing. That dunk was just monstrous, and
Oh my
it's just
God.
nice to see him get those moments, and especially on like a national broadcast. Like those are just really nice to see from him. Someone said on Periscope, saucy underscore Esco said it was the shot was actually over Brogdon, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't remember who it was over. So that
No,
still impressive. Doesn't
hey,
diminish it for me.
I mean, Brogdon's he's a guy that's touted as a really solid defender. So you know that's fine. I'm fine with him making that shot over. I don't care who it is at this point. Like
Yeah.
you could have a 14-foot wall, just a brick wall. If that guy's out there and he's still making that shot, that's huge. And he's just been so good for Oklahoma City. But he's one of the guys like, well, I just feel like we talk so much about him, and there are so many other guys that really I think deserve to get more mention. Now, granted, this guy we've been talking about a ton lately, but he's earned every second that we've talked about him. So, Terrence Ferguson, like
Mm.
Jason, we talked about this earlier when we were doing the Periscope, just kind of a little off the cuff stuff, and I think it was right before we went live on Periscope, or maybe it was after. But Terrence Ferguson growing as a player,
Right.
it you want to. Like we talked about this. You go ahead and take that lead on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been incredible to watch him grow. Like I remember earlier this season, people were talking about him like we don't like please send him to the G League, like don't even let
Mm.
him on the floor. Um and I mean, the whole time like his defense was kind of there. Like it wasn't at the level it is right now, but he was getting there defensively. His shot did look bad and he was having a rough start. Like he just looked nervous and like he couldn't it was almost like he wasn't comfortable being on the court at all. And I mean, you go back to last year, even people were saying the same kind of stuff to him. And he had like those. I remember, was it the Staples Center games where,
Oh
where
yeah.
he had those like just those monster dunks and just huge games from him. But so you saw like little flashes of it, but it's just like the Thunder have allowed him to grow, and I think that's a really big deal. That this franchise has really put trust in him and just allowed him to grow, and they've noticed. You see Billy talking about this all the time, but with Terrence, they've noticed that he seemed what they say all the time is he's always very coachable,
Mhm.
and he didn't come in with the attitude of like, yeah, I know how to play defense, I got this. He came in with like, what can you teach me? And he's sat with Dre. Brett Dawson just wrote a really good article on the Athletic about Terrence. I think it was last week, where he was talking about how he's just kind of like picked things up from PG, and he was talking about one night he was having a really hard time getting over screens, and he went over to Paul and was like, dude, how does this work? And he's like, I just can't get through these. And PG was like, just fake going over a screen and then go under it. And the guy will kind of step out into you. And he was like, all of a sudden, I was just freed up every time. And I think it was against Reddick. And he was
Right.
like, all of a sudden, I was just right in his face as soon as he was shooting. So it's really cool to like hear about how he's just taking all these little pieces of information from Dre and PG and like just really, really expanding his defense while all of a sudden shooting 50% several times from three. Like tonight, he was 60% from three. And
The the confidence is awesome.
yeah, just the fact that he'll just like pull the trigger at a moment's notice now. Like if you look back at his games earlier this season, he was really unsure about himself, especially last year. He would like barely shoot. Like if he was open, obviously he would take it, but he did have a moment tonight where he got a guy closed out on him a little fast, and he was in the air about to shoot, and then decided to just throw it on the ground. And it was kind of funny how he was trying to block it out for someone
Someone
else to
come
help
get
him
this
out.
for
Yeah,
me, please.
didn't work out, but it's just really awesome to see his growth lately, especially just how solid of a player he's been. It's almost like he's the 3 and D guy at the moment, at least. And I mean, I'm sure he's going to go through growing pains some more. He's a
Mhm.
21-year-old kid, like, but just to see his growth and his confidence, and to be that 3 and D player the Thunder have been looking for, like, it's just awesome.
Well, he absorbs everything like just all that information. He absorbs it like he's a sponge. He did the pregame interview with Nick Gallo today, and I got to listen to a little bit on the radio before I got back home and turned the broadcast on. And just listening to the guy, you just hear how he wants to be better, and he understands that he's still got a long way to go,
Right.
and wants to put that work in. But just talking about his teammates, and Nick Gallo mentioned like, it's got to be great to have all these guys like really supporting you. It's just like, yeah, man, like I love every second, like just being able to learn all these things. But not only that, just having all those guys have the confidence in me that I'll do the right thing, I'll make the right play, knowing that they've got my back helps me out so much. And you're seeing it on the floor tonight. 6 of 10, 3 of 5 from three, pours in 15 points. And we get a question from 7 cents from Mello at Rom Huff. Is it me or is T. Ferg's shot eerily similar to Kobe? Also, he's scoring with no dribbles and quick catch and finishes. Is he a Klay Thompson in the making? So we've got two high level comparisons. Like, I appreciate it, especially after a win. Like,
tame those down a notch.
It's so easy to look at those, just be like, oh yeah, he's literally the greatest thing ever. But you know what? I'm not going to say that he can't be a Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
he definitely could be. And Jason, I think you see it as well. Just like the effort and the intangibles that he's showing, and then just how much he wants to learn and be better. He's getting there, but right now, no, he's not. But man, it's been fun to watch.
I mean, those comparisons right now is like Kobe's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah,
Klay Thompson is probably the second best shooter of all time.
Yeah,
right next to Steph. Like he's incredible. He's a great defensive player as well. Like Terrence has the ability to be really, really good. I don't know if he's going to end up being like a great player, and it like his role may not lend to that. Like it may lend more towards like a Klay type of situation, but I mean he would have to shoot basically 60% all the time.
Yeah.
Like he would just have to be incredible. And I mean, like that's a really high level, but and we don't even necessarily need him to be that. Like we really just need him to do what he's doing right now, and that's such a huge boost to this team. Like when you've got Paul George and you've got Russell Westbrook, like what Terrence Ferguson is at this moment, if he can continue this and just like not let up, perfect. Yeah, that's what I want.
So there's this big thing in sports, and like especially as a fan, you want some of these guys to really develop into these all-star type players. These guys that are just world beaters. Obviously, it doesn't always happen, especially when you don't get a guy at a high pick. If you're not getting a guy within the top 5 picks of the NBA draft, chances are he's not going to be one of the best in the league. That's just how it goes in the NBA. You get some guys that really stand out, like Kawhi Leonard, who was drafted later than those top 5, but has obviously asserted himself as one of the best players in the league. But what you really want is like you want your guys to develop. You want to see these young guys come into the system and become something great. Become at least a high-level role player, a high-level starter, a guy that's going to affect your team in a positive direction every time they're out there on the floor.
I'm a fun guy.
I will.
You talking about
always,
Kawhi? I have to do it.
I will always love that. You want those guys to really develop, and it doesn't always work. Like sometimes scouts overvalue guys.
Right.
It happens all the time. Injuries happen. There's a myriad of things that can happen to effectively derail a guy's career over time, and all you want is them to become the player that you think they can be. And right now, as Thunder fans, we're looking at it, and maybe they're not as valuable to fans of other teams or just NBA fans in general. But what we're seeing from Terrence Ferguson and Jeremy Grant are exactly what we've needed as a franchise, what we've wanted as fans to see come into this Thunder team and assert themselves as guys that can be starters, can be effective minute getters. Terrence Ferguson and Jeremy Grant have been so great, and it was especially evident tonight. Jeremy Grant's defense, good Lord, what can you not say about Jeremy Grant tonight?
Man, 5 blocks. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those were on Giannis, but it felt like all of them. Um, I mean, Giannis started like 0 of 6. I mean, he ended up putting in 27 points or whatever. But I mean, he's gonna do that to you every night. But I feel like Grant made it so difficult for him to do anything. Oddly, his points tonight, a lot of them came from from 3. Like he had 3 threes. He was 8 of 22 from the field though. Like shot 36%. Like to just go and take that assignment, like that incredible of a player, and for Jeremy Grant to just step up and be like, yeah, I got this. Like, and it obviously he had a lot of help. Like Nerlens had some time on Giannis too and did a great job. Like it was just incredible the way, and I think you got to give obviously Donovan some credit for scheming up like how to defend this team, and they just did a great job.
That was something that actually I'd meant to put that in our notes for this, but yeah, Billy Donovan definitely deserves a lot of credit. But we can touch on that on a later episode or whatever it is. But Giannis was so uncomfortable this entire night. Most of that goes to Jeremy Grant. I think if you're going to give a game ball to anyone tonight, Paul George definitely deserving. But I think the fact that you walk into the arena and your coach walks up to you and be like, hey, by the way, Jeremy, I don't know if you know this tonight, but you're going to be guarding a guy that's widely considered to be a lock for MVP. Because I think there are a lot of people that think that this was Giannis's year. I'm one of them. I thought coming into this season, this was Giannis's year to win the MVP.
Yeah, Harden's making it kind of difficult, but
sure.
Like I think position in the standings is going to end up having a play in that, but if he keeps going on the stretch he is, like it's going to be hard not for people not to vote for Harden, but yeah, I mean Giannis is super close, I think.
This was I'm pretty sure Giannis had a miserable night, just one of the worst, and not just what shows up in the box score, but psychologically it had to be miserable. Every time he was trying to pass the ball, it seemed like it was getting deflected. The physicality was something that he didn't seem like he could really deal with at a high level. The ball was being stripped from him when he was trying to dribble, whether that was Paul George stepping in a double team or Terrence Ferguson doing the same thing, or Jeremy Grant's just ability to play great on-ball defense, and the same with Nerlens Noel. They took a guy that has been torching and destroying team defenses across the NBA for the better part of this entire season, and they look. He still got 27. You already mentioned that, but they made it hard for every single one of those 27 points. 8 of those were from the line. He ends up at a complete wash as a 0 in the plus minus.
You'll like that,
Jeremy Grant deserves a ton of credit for how he played defense
and some nice
against
free
Giannis.
throws at the end there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Clutch. It's pretty nice to see that.
He's become so versatile on both ends of the floor with the way he's scoring. He's scoring at all 3 levels. He's doing it in the paint, just driving in and banging around in the trees and putting those up off the glass, or just hitting those little floaters near. He's gotten a little bit of a mid-range game. It's still very raw.
Yeah.
Needs a lot of polish to it. He's hitting threes. He's doing so many great things offensively, and then defensively. I think watching this game tonight, you can't help but admire what his game's been. And so we had a few questions about this from two of our listeners, followers, watchers. One from Zach at Zach_DP. This may be blasphemous, but has Jeremy eclipsed the great Pascal Siakam as the best Swiss Army knife in the league?
Nope.
But Pascal Siakam's really good.
Pascal's really, really good. I think, I guess you could say like Jeremy's in that category of player where he's kind of can do like he like Swiss Army knife. He can kind of be whatever you want him to be. But yeah, I mean, Siakam's just a super good player, and I don't know, maybe I don't know how it'll end up, like which one will end up being the better player. I would assume Siakam. He's getting a lot of praise, and there's just a whole narrative behind him right now. But
yeah,
I mean, there was even talk, like I remember on a low post, Zach Lowe was talking about him possibly voting for Siakam as an all-star, like an alternate all-star or something like that. So, yeah, I think Grant's not to that level yet, but I mean, just to like what we were talking about with Ferguson, like his growth while being with this franchise has been unbelievable. Like I remember when he got here, and I remember going and looking at 76ers Reddit, and some of them were coming over to Thunder Reddit, and they were just like, yeah, you guys can take him. Like we don't really like him that much or whatever. Like he's kind of sketchy and he's not consistent, blah, blah, blah. And then he comes here, and the first year you kind of saw some of that, like he was a little iffy at times, but then just his growth over that first summer with the Thunder was amazing, and it's just continued almost on a game-by-game basis. Like it seems like he gets better every time he touches the floor.
It's funny because it seems like the opposite, where a guy leaves Oklahoma City and he just gets better, and any time a guy's come in like, oh, he's a great 3-point shooter, and he gets to Oklahoma City and just like, oh yeah, he's hitting literally like 7% of his threes now. To see Grant like it really develop into like, oh, he's gotten so much better every single game he's played in an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform. It's a great thing. And then we did have one from Luke Helms at Luke the Duke 4550. What is Jeremy's most valuable skill? He's become so versatile on both ends.
Man, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I from tonight, it's my maybe recency bias, but I'm just gonna go defense. Like his rim protection and his just ability to stick to guys is incredible to me. It's hard to pick one though, because I mean, would you go with defense or his just way of rubber banding around people and making shots? It's so hard.
His driving ability and his plasticity in the air to make shots is incredible. But no, I think especially with the identity that this team has to be that defensive stalwart as a unit, I think his defense and maybe you're right. Maybe it is just the recency bias. Maybe it's just Giannis was that perfect matchup for him to showcase that. But the way this team's built, the defensively minded, we're going to lock you up defensively, and then hopefully our offense kind of shows up mentality that this team has, it's hard not to go with defense, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So moving forward, a few last things before we get to your questions, which we always appreciate, and we answer as many as we possibly can, within reason, obviously. If you send us a statement, sometimes that's a statement. That's not a question. But either way, Steven Adams, not really a huge impact in the game, mostly because, he sprained his ankle yet again. Went to the locker room in the first quarter. Noel came in, did a great job in his stead. Nerlens Noel had a fantastic game. And I know we haven't talked quite enough about him, but played really well in Adams' stead. Man, at this point, I'm thinking, I believe it was the same one that he hurt against San Antonio, where he had to leave the game for quite a while. That's obviously the game that Marcus Aldridge decided to drop 175 points against Oklahoma City in that double overtime game. Steven Adams is going to have major arthritis in his ankles later in life. The dude just always seems to get hurt, but still comes in, does great things. So, big thing to monitor over the next few weeks is how healthy is Steven Adams going to be. Like, Jason, what would you do if you rolled your ankle or just got physically abused the way that Steven Adams does sometimes? Dead. How do you deal with that?
I would be in a hospital of some sort or dead. I'm not sure which, but I definitely wouldn't just come back out and play basketball more. That's for sure. It's kind of incredible, his durability. It's mind blowing. I almost wonder if there's a few gimme games coming up, if they might rest him a little. Maybe not completely sit him, but I don't know, maybe limit his minutes and give Nerlens a bigger share. I think I don't know if they're going to do that. I know the West is really tough, and they need all of the wins they can get. And recently they've had trouble with kind of these lower tier teams. So it's a little scary to think about doing that, but I would rather have a healthy Steven Adams going in to the next stretch than a not. So hopefully he'll get some rest or something. But
he needs something. A healthy Steven Adams in April was way better than just playing a banged up Steven Adams for 36 minutes in January or early February. That's for damn sure.
I feel real bad for his ankles. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, they're it's just sawdust at this point. Then kind of a few more things. This was triple double number 120.
I was wondering if you're going to just forget about old Russie, you know?
Well, we have to talk about it. I kind of wanted to scan over it just because it wasn't a great game for Russ.
So weird.
But he does have his second straight triple double in the third quarter. It doesn't take him a whole lot of time to register these things because he does so many other things besides shoot poorly.
Because he definitely does that, though. He's good at that.
And this might have been one of Russ's more poor, one of the poorest games that he's played this season. He was the second lowest in the game at -11 in the box score. It was just one of those nights, which, at least with the way that Milwaukee kind of plays the game, where they run so much of their offense through Giannis, the point guard position kind of becomes not as important, but at the same time, just he goes 5 of 20 from the field. It was just one of those nights where Russ just couldn't really get things going as far as shooting goes, but has plenty of helpers, pulls down plenty of rebounds like he almost always does. He had 13 boards, 11 assists. Obviously had to get to that triple-double threshold there. But, yeah, it's just, every single night you just wonder, what kind of Russ are we going to get?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's definitely had a couple worse shooting nights this season, but this is definitely on that list. And that list is getting bigger of nights where it's just like, oh God, why? How are you possibly not able to just shoot? Like I keep thinking that it's going to come back, but then these just keep happening, which I don't know. I feel like slowly but surely he's getting there. He's starting to get to his spots a little better. It just doesn't stay consistent right now. And at least he's limiting his threes. Like, to me, at least he's not in there taking 12 or 13 threes while he can't, while he's missing everything. And he actually shot 40% from 3, 2 for 5 tonight, but it seems like he's doing a really good job of getting others involved. One thing about him, like you kind of brought this up earlier, you look at Paul George, Terrence Ferguson, Jeremy Grant, Steven Adams, all having career years this year, while Russell's having a down year to his standards. But that feels to me like he's kind of restraining himself and focusing on getting these other people involved, which is something people have wanted from him for a really long time.
It's amazing because I feel like I can hear these chants from Houston and Los Angeles and the Oakland Bay Area. Just, well, Russ doesn't make his teammates better.
Yeah.
Even though he statistically does. But that's a different conversation for a different time.
Agreed.
By the way, just real quick, I hate Brook Lopez so much. That dude is... He went 5 of 6 from 3. He's huge, and he's hitting these
threes.
Step back, fade away, like got a guy in his face 3. Is like, what the hell are you gonna do about that? That's just frustrating. You wanna get into some social media inquiries?
Do some of them. I'm not gonna do the sounder though.
Well, I know you're not. I didn't expect you.
I'm actually gonna sub out a question here. I think, if I can find it.
I'll bring in the old tag in.
Never mind. Can't find it. Anyways, it was the same person, but Bantha Fodder at Burn1Trump. Scale of 1 to 10 on Presti making a move before the 7th. And what player do you think that would be?
Ooh. As far as what player? Yeah. It's one of those where the more you try and predict what Sam Presti's going to do, the more wrong you're going to be. That's just who
correct.
Sam Presti is. But I think as far as a scale that I think he's going to make a big move before the deadline, I'd go with a 7. But then again, I don't even feel that confident about my own 7 just because I just, you know what, I'm going to go with a 4. I don't think it's going to be a trade. I think
You're all over the place. The 7
yeah,
to
no,
4.
I'm going
Somewhere
to,
in the range of 7 to 4.
I'm thinking about this too much right now. So I'm going to stick with 4 here. Mostly because I think, yes, they need some wing scoring. It feels like they need to add another wing. At the same time, I think that happens in the buyout market because I think the continuity and just the way this locker room is so they want to go to war for each other. They're fine with fighting for each other every single night. So I think the idea that like you keep this roster mostly the same and you bring someone in rather than breaking it down and trying to integrate someone, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think it was Brett Dawson again. He had tweeted out today that Billy was saying that Abrinas was really not even close to playing in a game right now still. And was like, I think they asked him if he was ready to play in a G League game, and he said no to that too. Which is just kind of perplexing a little. Maybe it is that illness thing we had alluded to before. It's hard to tell because obviously they're just saying personal reasons. But that being the case, it makes me feel more on the side that we're going to see a move. I don't know if it's going to be anything incredible or anything big, but I definitely think they need some shooting on that bench. They need some more scoring. Schroeder out there by himself with Nader, like that all bench lineup that they were trying to run before wasn't working. And credit to Billy for doing some different versions of staggering where he uses either Adams or PG or Grant sometimes and leaves him out there with that bench and kind of shears him up a little bit because before it wasn't working. So on this question, I'm going to probably go 7. I'll take your 7 from earlier.
I'm glad I could give you that 7.
Yeah, and players. I mean, Courtney Lee is available. He makes a lot of money though. Torian Prince from Atlanta is a guy that's interesting to me. It's just like you said. You can speculate all day on like 40 different players, but these GMs, it's not like they're just like, hey, I'm going to trade these 2 players and I'm going to go and get this guy, or like they're talking with every other GM or several other GMs, and this is like the trade deadline doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like, hey, I feel like making this trade. These are things. Right. These are conversations that they've had for months and months, or possibly years, with other GMs. Like it's a progress. It's like a process, and it's a lot of relationship based. And I don't think they just like pick and choose guys like a trade machine like we think they do. But
right.
So we'll see what goes down with that.
From Wessie West at Good Time Fun Boy. Which Thunder player would it hurt the most to hear them say they were disappointed in you?
Oh, man. I was originally thinking Russ because God, that would feel really bad just because of how long I've been a fan of him. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Just like I've looked up to him a lot, but I think Paul George is my actual answer. Like, I can just see him saying that and it just cutting real deep. You know what I mean? Just right. He seems like he could say it in a very dad way. I'm just like, oh, man. And it would hurt.
To me, I still feel like it's Russ, especially the fact that he is a relatively new dad. Now he's got Noel and the twins, which I apologize, I don't remember their names. I said Noel, I meant Noah. I think I saw Noel on my screen. I was like, oh yeah, Nerlens, that's one of his kids. I still think for me, it's still Russ. The dude is he's still the face of the franchise. Paul George has become that 1B, but it's still, you look at the longevity and who Russ is for the city, for this franchise, like it would still be Russ. If Russ told me he was disappointed, I'm like, oh man.
I think I could,
curl
if
up into a
Nick
ball.
Collison was still playing, I feel like you would say Nick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I thought I had that pegged, but I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, no, you're spot on with that one.
All right. Thunder_Thunder at Never Never Lose. High expectations there with that name. Do
Yeah.
you think that Ferguson replacing Schroeder to close out the game could have a negative impact on the locker room chemistry? Something we've talked about a little bit.
It's something that I feel like we've talked about just a little bit. I think Schroeder's enough of a professional to understand that you have to earn that thing, and there are times where he doesn't earn it properly, and Terrence Ferguson absolutely has. So, yeah, could it eventually? Maybe. I think it's going to take kind of a lot. It would really take Ferguson going into a slump and Schroeder hitting everything for I think it to actually affect the overall chemistry of the team itself. So right now, I don't think it's a big deal in the locker room.
Yeah. I know they talked. We had discussed this a little bit. Like they did talk to Schroeder when he was coming here and said, we want you to be in those clutch moments, like the important moments for the team and everything. But if you look at how the team was functioning recently with him in those situations, as like compared against Ferguson's minutes, I think they can clearly show him, like, if he ever made a thing about it, like there's a perfectly good reason that Ferguson is out there, and I think he can probably see that also. Like that guy is playing tremendous defense and offense at the moment, which is like it's surprising, but it's awesome, and it's the best thing for the team at the moment. And so, hopefully Schroeder understands that, like, hopefully he gets that.
Yeah. From Bobby Cortez at BC Sniper 7. That 7 is really important. Hate to nitpick, but why is OKC the only team that doesn't have any money? Money. Well, they don't have money. Why don't they have any money plays out of timeouts? It would be huge to have this when teams go on runs and the offense stalls.
Yeah, I think they do a decent job. Take a look at that 76ers play where Billy drew up an incredible play for Paul George to hit that three. Like, the reason, I think one big reason that Paul George has been able to hit these game winners is the plays that Billy's drawing up at those moments are getting him completely wide open. Like that's hard to do. Like, that's really hard to do at a moment where that's the one guy taking this shot. Like the entire other team knows, everyone in the building knows that's the guy trying to take this shot. And to get him wide open, I think that's pretty impressive. So, at times it seems like they have a rough time getting out of timeouts, but that's kind of been a Thunder thing going back to forever.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not totally against what he's doing. So.
No, I think, especially you look back to the Scott Brooks days, which I love Scott Brooks. I thought he was a great coach. But just the ATO, the after timeout plays that you've seen with Billy Donovan have been leaps and bounds better than what we saw with Scott Brooks. You know what? You can't run a perfect play every single time you call a timeout. It's just, that's literally impossible.
Yeah.
So they do a good enough job, I think, to just make something great out of maybe not the greatest situation ever, but I feel like more times than not they're actually really successful on those after timeout plays.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is you just have to make the shot. When you don't make the shot,
looks pretty bad.
It looks like a bad play, which it was a great play. It was a great look. It just didn't go in.
All right. Nate Zero at RWPG13 is the only thing Terrence has to do better is keep himself out of foul trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right now he's doing everything else really well. Defense is on point. Not only has his 3-point shooting been good, but he's been going off the dribble. He's been cutting nicely lately. Like, those things are incredible. But yeah, if he could do a little bit better of a job staying out of foul trouble, that'd be great. I think it's going to be hard for him to do that. Just, he's kind of a young player, and when he's going up against star players, those guys are going to get calls. So it's tough.
That's just part of being a rookie, to be honest. So, From Brett Carlisle at Throw Me a Hammer. How good is PG?
So good.
I know Harden, Giannis, and Curry are ahead in MVP discussions, but this is a team sport, and PG is the best team player that is also performing on an individual level in that group.
He's man. I can't explain how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
This season has been so incredible from him, and I mean, even when we thought he was kind of starting to come back to earth, like he didn't. He just kind of picked it back up again, and he's just taking the team on his back at moments when they really need him, and he's saving the day. Like he's had several of those moments in the last week, and he knows when to turn it on. Like you do see him disappear a little bit every once in a while, and I think to Brett's point here, like he is involving his teammates a lot. Harden is required at this moment to just go balls out and score everything by himself. He doesn't really have the luxury of help at the moment with all the injuries there. Giannis, I mean, is a beast, and Curry is just going to be up there. But I think as far as MVP wise, Curry and KD and that team they have, like I don't see one of them getting it unless they just go insane personally. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit on the pod. I still slot PG at third or fourth, but he's doing a great job. It's just
yeah. No, he's been fun to watch. He's been incredible. It's Paul George is awesome, and you know what the most valuable player thing that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's your results that you put in that win-loss column, and just the way your fan base responds. So his play this year, I think it's elevated the fan base quite a bit. It's definitely elevated me. So I'm totally, you know what, if no one else thinks that he's an MVP across the league, whatever. They're dumb. They're wrong. He's my MVP.
I like it. Cody Lynn Hara at Cody Lynn 22. Is it time to start confirming that T. Ferg is now our permanent starting shooting guard beyond this season moving forward? I'm dyslexic apparently. Even over Dre when he is at full health.
Man, we've talked about this quite a bit lately because that thought has really started to creep into our minds. It's so hard to demote a guy because he got hurt.
Yeah.
And Dre was so great pre-injury, but it's really, really hard to ignore what Terrence Ferguson has done. So it's definitely going to be a very difficult decision moving forward for this coaching staff. I'm at the point where I cannot accurately. I don't feel like I can accurately predict what's going to happen once we get to the point where Dre is healthy and back.
Yeah, I mean, him coming back is going to be a process. Like it's not going to be, hey, Dre's healthy. He's now back to his elite defensive self today. You know, it's gonna be probably he's getting a couple of minutes off the bench. He's kind of got to work himself back into game shape after he hasn't played basketball in a year. You know, like that's insane. Like that's a long time off for a basketball player. Yeah. That's a hard shape to get back into for those guys. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be a process. And then once he has returned, that's going to be something they have to figure out how that works best. I think that T. Ferg could be very beneficial to this team off the bench. They need scoring. They need defense on the bench. Whoever it is, like, it just feels like Dre has always kind of had that starting spot to me. Like it was like carved out for him. And I think he was they know how to make that work. You know what I mean? Yeah, his shooting's probably it's not going to be like, you're not getting T. Ferg shooting from Dre. It's just not happening.
No.
But his defense is a step above Ferg's or a couple steps above. It's elite. It's incredible. If he gets back to that point, like, you don't want him out of there. So.
Absolutely. And wrapping up from Benson at Benson Smooth, when the Thunder do eventually play a game against LeBron, do they try the same defensive strategy they used on Giannis tonight?
I mean, I can see that. I feel like PG can kind of hold his own against LeBron sometimes. They're more similar than, I mean, he's kind of. I think they're more similar than PG versus Giannis. But yeah, I mean, you can toss Grant out there on that, like for sure, and see how that goes. And I think he'll hold his own. Just
I will say, like in the playoffs, you can definitely do this a lot better than you could in the regular season, just based on the fact that the refs will let you play. This was a really specially officiated game because they let so much physicality happen that they were letting guys play, and so I think that definitely changes the things as you move forward into the later parts of the season and into the playoffs. You start to see the officials kind of be a little bit more lax with their whistles, and I think that really favors the Thunder. But with LeBron, it's just so hard because it's LeBron. LeBron gets calls. So it's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be Paul George.
Yeah, that's one thing with that situation is Grant's going to get called for a lot more than PG will. Like especially in those big moments, refs will let 2-star players kind of go at each other, and that's really fun for everyone to watch. Is like an elite defender versus an elite offensive player like LeBron, and then vice versa. Like it's just fun. So they're not going to try to cut that out.
Right.
All right. Cool. We did.
That was fun.
It was. Guys, I don't know if you noticed our sweet-ass haircuts, but we went, if you didn't see our Periscope earlier, we were at Scissors and Scotch today. We both got some fresh cuts, and I had an old-fashioned. What'd you have again?
Well, one, I had a Neon Sunshine from Stone Cloud Brewery, so
delicious beer.
Oklahoma City. Great stuff. Then after that, I had a Bullet and Soda, Bullet Bourbon and Soda.
Yeah, that place has incredible drinks, and obviously they give super good haircuts. So definitely go check it out. And we're going to be doing a watch party from there, I think, this coming month. So we'll figure out the details for what game it's going to be and let you guys know. And then we're going to try to do some like giveaways. We're going to have some Opolis clothing t-shirts and some haircuts to give away. So definitely make sure you watch the Twitter and come out for that. And then, obviously, this thing that we're doing right now is a preview for the Patreon that we're starting beginning in February. So make sure to go over to patreon.com/Thunderheads. Check out the tiers. We have like a couple different options there. You can get like a free Thunderhead shirt. You can get your questions answered every pod and get an extra podcast a month with some of them. So just go there, check out the tiers, and sign up. And because after February 1st, this live video thing will not be free, but you still can get the audio. We're not taking anything away. So check that out. And yeah, we'll be back Sunday, right? With a full pod? Not pad?
Full pad, yeah. Full pad coming Sunday.
Right,
pad tie.
And then whatever games this week, we have Aftershocks after those. I haven't looked at the schedule because I'm tired. But
stuff happens.
But all right, guys. Thunder up. Thanks.